Hello YouTube. Today we are going to talk about physical manifestation and what the difference is between real physical manifestation and smoke and mirrors type magic. So a lot of people, when they're talking about manifestation of results in magic, well, when they're talking about manifestation in general in magic, they're talking about the manifestation of results. So when somebody says, well, did the magic manifest? They're basically asking you, did that magic manifest some type of result? So that's, when you're talking manifestation, and a lot of times that's exactly what we're talking about. However, if we are talking physical manifestation, as in theophany, as in the appearance of an entity or spirit or God form, we're talking an actual physical entity appearing to you. The question that I often get is, should I expect a physical being in front of me? Or is this all smoke and mirrors? And it really depends. I actually had an instance, and I have this picture on my Instagram. If you go there, it's like really early on in the Instagram, where I actually have a picture of an angel. It's not really, I guess, a demon as in divine intelligence. Yes, an angel is demonic in that sense. But I actually was able to photograph an angel within one of my crystal balls. So, and I've also seen people who've taken some fascinating photographs of entities that manifest in smoke, or even with smoke in front of a black mirror. Or even a silver mirror, but usually black mirrors. So a lot of times when people are talking manifestation, that's exactly what they're talking. They're talking smoke and mirrors. I do contend, I'm one of the few people who does contend that physical manifestation to actual theophany is possible. Now, it's not going to happen every single time, and it may not always happen every single time. But you work with demons long enough, or spirits even, of any type long enough, and it is going to happen. That's just the nature of the beast. If you've been working magic a long time and have not had an experience of physical manifestation to where an entity actually appeared physically to you, then I would say you're not doing it right. It's, and I'm not talking smoke and mirrors, because the human mind has a tendency to make shapes in mirrors, just like we make shapes in clouds and stars, and so smoke and mirrors, you can do a lot with that. However, some of the stuff I've seen would make you question that. But, and I'm sure some of you have seen some things too where you're like, oh yeah, that can't just be coincidence. I mean, that's very clearly what this is. Again, that's open to individual interpretation and perspective. So, a lot of things when it comes to the occult and the esoteric, it's all very subjective to personal interpretation. So we will kind of throw that out there first and foremost. But there are different types of physical manifestation. It's not necessarily just, and when we're talking theophany, there are different types of theophany. I'm talking theophany as in a physical shape appears and you can actually touch it. When you have an experience like that, that can be the most jarring of all. Anybody who says they have experiences like that all the time and it wasn't startling and didn't freak them out, they're lying. Because, you can have that happen as many times, more than once, and it's still going to be startling no matter how often it happens. That's just the nature of the beast. So, then of course, there's always being touched, especially when you're working with, with the death demonic. Sometimes people will talk about being touched, or they'll hear knocks. If they hear knocking, that is generally, so there's an auditory, a lot of people say it's an auditory hallucination. No, not necessarily. Sometimes you'll hear something or someone call your name. A lot of times people like associate these things with death or the death demonic. And not necessarily true. Some entity is trying to get your attention. They usually have ways of manifesting to do that. But here's the thing about physical manifestation, as in theophany, an actual spirit appearing to you. They generally only do it if there's a good enough reason to, or there's something important that they're trying to draw your attention to. And at least that's been my experience. So I don't have it happen often. I've been working with demons for over 30 years now. And I don't necessarily have experiences like that all the time. Nor would I want to. I'd like to point that out. Not necessarily want to, because that can be some scary shit. Okay? And I'm not generally afraid of demons. Generally. But I also have like a healthy respect for the demonic as well, because I know what they're capable of. But in those instances where I have had actual theophantic experiences, you don't really get used to them, no matter how often they happen. And I can probably count on both hands the number of times that's happened in 30 years. And it probably hasn't been more than 6 or 7 at the most. Most of the time, I'll either get auditory, I'll hear like somebody call my name, or I'll hear the knocking. And yes, you can get it to repeat. If it really is a demonic force, you can say, knock 3 times again, and it will happen again. So there are certain things that will happen. So, and of course I have been touched. Maybe some of you have been like working in the ritual chamber doing something, and it felt like somebody pushed you from behind, or maybe smacked your leg, or smacked your hip or your back, or tapped you on the shoulder, or even like touched your neck or something like that. That's generally demonic in nature. Now, if it's happening, when you're not in the ritual chamber or something, you might like rule out muscle spasms or anything like that, but it can happen at other times. I guess it depends on what you're doing, what you have done, etc. And when we talk about theophany, we don't really talk about anything that happens in the dream state or the astral state. Those are totally different experiences. So, but technically, we're also not talking about smoke and mirrors. So, because smoke and mirrors, that's a little more common. It's more common to see a demonic presence in smoke in front of a mirror. So, and it also depends the type of, incense you're using, the type of incense burner, how much smoke you can get billowing. People who tend to have more billowing incense burners tend to have more experiences like that with the whole smoke and mirrors thing. These are just, my observations. Your experience may say something different to you, and that's okay. So that's kind of my take on theophantic experiences. Now, if you are interested in actually working with demons and trying to manifest them to physical manifestation, I do recommend the Abyssal Angels Infernal Colopadaron Redux, unless you have a copy of the Infernal Colopadaron, in which case you can go ahead and use that. There are formulas in there that will increase your chances of a theophantic experience. Now, I am of the firm belief that if you are trying to raise a demon to physical manifestation, you better have a good reason other than, hell, why not? Let's try it, see if it works. Because that's not really respectful in my viewpoint. You can disagree with that if you choose to. But just know that it can be done, and you could do it just to see if it will work. But I guarantee you, if you work with the demonic long enough, you are going to have experiences like that. I have a lot of different experiences I could relate to you, but time is kind of running short for me right now, so I don't really have time for that. But if you do have the Infernal Colopadaron, there is a section in there that kind of tells you a little bit about some of my theophantic experiences. And of course, you're always welcome to email me at any time. So, and I believe my email's all over the place. sordarkyrion@gmail.com. So, and I think you can probably even find it. If you can't find it on demonolatry.org, you can always visit my personal website, which I believe if you go to my page that has my bio on it, it actually has, I have a contact page on my personal website that you can go to. So that's it for today. That's it for that we're going to really discuss on physical manifestation. If you have questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below.